I will be speaking in 2 languages, sometime in Bahasa, and maybe with the English speaker, I will be speaking English. For this session, we scheduled 6 speakers and 1 keynote, but I got the information from the organizers. The keynote will be delivered after the plenary, after the 6 speakers. And I'm also informed that among the 6 speakers, only 4 confirmed and already joined this webinar. So the topic, as mentioned, the topic is on the research and development in supporting the energy demand. Yeah. Speakers of this topic will share his organization view or his personal view and activities in research and development supporting low carbon energy and energy transition towards net zero emission in the future. So we will have 4 speakers. I think it is good to call one by one before we start. The first speaker will be Pak Ismunandar. Pak Ismunandar, are you there? Bapak ada di sana? The second speaker, let's just continue. Second speaker will be Mr. Paul Westin. Hello, Paul Westin. Paul?
Hello, Bapak Herman.
Just introduce your voice to the audience, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the third speaker will be Junichiro Masada-san from Mitsubishi.
Hi, my name is Masada. Very nice to meet you.
Masada, ya. Arigato, Masada-san.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
And the fourth speaker will be Wai-Shin from HSBC.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Lovely to be here.
Okay, according to direction from organizer, the first speaker will be Bapak Ismunandar. But Pak Ismunandar, are you ready, Pak Ismunandar? If not, maybe better we move to the second one. So, ladies and gentlemen, the setting of this topic we discussed with all speakers and also with organizer. This is, we will make it like a plenary, like a panel discussion, but we allow speaker to share his presentation. So we will start with the first speaker. We skip Pak Ismunandar, then we will continue with Mr. Paul Westin. One moment. Okay. I will introduce Paul Westin. Yeah, I will introduce. Paul Westin is from the Swedish Energy Agency. Swedish Energy Agency. Jadi from Sweden. His position is country manager, Indonesian program as senior business developer. His degree is MSc in Industrial, Master of Science in Industrial Engineering and Management, Royal Institute of Technology of Stockholm, Sweden. His area of interest in energy is energy efficiency and renewable energy. Also sustainable development and international cooperation. And other important information about him, he is a counselor for energy affairs, Swedish Embassy, Jakarta, from 2016 to 2018. Yeah. So now not anymore as a counselor, but still in Indonesia. I hope. Yes,
sudah pindah kembali Swedia ya. Sudah pindah kembali Swedia ya. Tapi senang sekali ya bertemu dengan Anda ya.
Ya, sama-sama. Paul, you can have 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay, I will see if I can share my screen. Is it possible? Can you see it now? Yes. Let's see if I can put it into the presentation mode also. Yes. So, yeah, I'm from the Swedish Energy Agency, and we are a government authority, but we are working so to speak, to lead the Swedish society's transition to a sustainable energy system. But also we do a lot of international collaboration, and that's why I am here. And my topic today was on the innovation for effective energy demand response management. We'll see what that will lead to. So to begin with, I would like to just iterate a little bit about the Swedish targets for energy and climate. So we wish to have 100% renewable electricity by 2040, 50% more efficient use of energy in 2030, and no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2045. So they are quite ambitious, almost as ambitious as the Indonesian targets, I would say. So how are we doing on renewables? We are actually doing quite well. The total amount of renewables in the energy system of Sweden is more than 55%. The electricity target, we are actually, that's 66% renewables, but the rest is actually nuclear, more or less. So it's almost a fossil-free electricity system. And we're also doing quite well in transport. The European target for transport is 10%. We are overachieving and have already reached 30%. So on energy efficiency, I will come back a little bit more about this, but we wish to be 50% more efficient in the use of energy compared to GDP, compared to the year 2005. So of course we have a lot of national policy measures, and the main policy measure is the energy tax. This is steering towards lower use of energy. But we also work with strategies. We of course work with research and innovation. We are also subject to a lot of different European Union directives. We also give information and advisory services to the public. And we have other different types of support schemes to industry, buildings, small and medium-sized companies. So, how are we doing then? Well, the target was, as I mentioned, 50% more efficient use of energy in 2030 compared to 2005. Well, here the base year is actually 2008. So since then we have reduced by 21%. So we're not really reaching that target. That's a tough one. But I think we will close down nuclear reactors, and the energy losses from them will then disappear. So maybe we will reach the energy targets. So that is quite funny, right? Maybe you want to invest in nuclear, but our target says we should not. We should close them down. And then I also placed, I mentioned taxes as one of the important drivers in Sweden. And I tried to, I hope it's the correct amounts, but I put it in rupiah. So the top line there is actually how much per kilowatt hours in rupiah we have to pay in taxes for petrol, for benzene. And at the bottom you can see it's actually the consumer has to pay about 3 times more than the Pertalite Indonesia. So what does this mean? Well, however, industry is growing. We have a lot of energy intensive industry in Sweden, as you do in Indonesia. We have pulp and paper, we have chemical industry, we have steel industry, and also quite a big manufacturing sector, as you do also in Indonesia. So since the 80s, the OPEX share for energy has reduced from 2% down to 0.5% for the manufacturing industry. And you can also see that the energy-intensive industry has had less energy costs for their production. And also, the buildings use less energy per square meter. So we are now 20% more effective per square meter. Well, it was about innovation. I'm not going to go through all these innovations, but we have a big portfolio of innovations from the Energy Agency. We are transferring about 300 million euros per year in research and development funding, and a lot of that goes to the energy efficiency sector. So these are just some of the examples, and I'm not going to go through them in detail, but it might be of interest to look into our good examples. For example, this one on how to save water, for example. And we are also highly into the electrification of the energy system and the energy sector and the transportation sector. So we are also having a very interesting development in the north of Sweden with this battery factory and other very huge investments, for example, in fossil-free steel production. And then I just want to pitch on Thursday this week, in collaboration with the conference, we're going to have a study tour to Sweden, so please join this. The themes will be energy efficiency in buildings and also the electrification of the transport sector through our platform, the Smart City Sweden platform, and also in association with Business Sweden, the Swedish Trade and Invest Council in Jakarta, and the conference organizers here at IEECCE. And I'm also happy to share, we are also participating in the conference with the show room at the exhibition, where we have, I think, 11 companies showcasing their innovations, and they are part of what we call the Business Accelerator Program Indonesia, where we wish to have collaboration with Indonesian counterparts. So that's it from me. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I have to unmute because the host muted me. Now it's okay. Now you can hear my voice. Can you hear my voice? Okay. Please wait, Paul, until we have discussion. I invite Pak Ismunandar. Pak Ismunandar, are you in the room already?
Yeah, Pak. Thank you, Pak. Pak Herman, thank you.
Pak Ismunandar, I will introduce you first.
Okay, please do.
Short introduction, yeah. One moment. I already prepared, but it is. I need to check again. Sorry, yeah. Ini ada sedikit masalah nih dengan Intar ya, sebentar. Oke. Bapak Ismunandar adalah Profesor Kimia ITB. Ya. Ini jadi profesor tahun 2008. Bapak Ismunandar adalah Deputi Penguatan Riset dan Pengembangan di BRIN, staf ahli bidang pembangunan berkelanjutan, dan juga anggota Akademi Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia, Komisi Ilmu Pengetahuan Dasar 2019. Itu singkatnya, Pak Is, tapi kalau mau ditambahkan, Pak Is silakan ditambahkan. Saya memakai bahasa dengan speaker Indonesia, saya bahasa Indonesia, dengan speaker asing, saya bahasa Inggris. Pak Ismunandar, waktu kita berikan sekitar 7-10 menit, tapi kalaupun lebih, no problem, karena speaker kita yang 6, yang hadir cuma 4. Waktu kami persilakan ke Pak Ismunandar untuk menyampaikan presentasinya.
Terima kasih Pak Herman. Kita oke pakai bahasa Indonesia Pak Herman atau harus?
Organizer membebaskan, jadi Pak Is gimana yang nyamannya saja, karena ada interpreter atau translation yang
Baik. Baik, terima kasih. Kalau gitu saya pakai bahasa Indonesia aja supaya memperkenalkan bahasa Indonesia juga.
Ya, betul. Saya juga tujuannya tadi itu.
Terima kasih Pak Herman. Jadi topik yang diberikan kepada saya adalah bagaimana mensupport inovasi di industri lokal ya. Saya akan bicara yang general dulu dan sedikit terkait dengan digital ekonomi karena yang penting terkait bagaimana kita mendukung industri lokal. Tapi di bagian akhir saya akan menyampaikan juga beberapa inovasi untuk energi juga. Ya. Saya akan sampaikan ini ya terkait dengan digital ini karena memang ini yang bagaimana di masa-masa pandemi ini di mana kita harus melakukan ekonomi atau kegiatan yang bersifat contactless ya atau less contact itu sangat penting ya. Sehingga kita waktu itu di Ristek dan BRIN dan sekarang BRIN itu menginventarisasi ya kegiatan atau teknologi yang penting selama musim pandemi ini dan ada 10 yang bisa dilihat di sini. Nah, tetapi kalau kita lihat memang problemnya di Indonesia ini dari sisi labor condition-nya, background akademiknya dan sebagainya, sehingga tidak semua bisa kerja dari rumah, memakai digital dan sebagainya. Sehingga sangat penting kita melakukan berbagai inovasi mendukung kegiatan. Nah, ini contoh saja ada studi dari IDB pada waktu ini sebelum pandemi sebetulnya ya. Nah, sebelum pandemi kalau kita lihat baik dari sisi kesadaran, pemakaian maupun perencanaan dalam ini terkait dengan digital ini masih sangat rendah ya di berbagai perusahaan-perusahaan kita. Nah, inilah menjadi sangat penting bagi kita untuk membantu mereka bagaimana bertransformasi ke ekonomi digital. Nah, terkait energi nanti mungkin saya nggak tahu kepala BRIN itu akan menyampaikan di akhir atau di awal tadi, tapi di akhir ya. Nah, di akhir ya. Jadi Indonesia sendiri sudah punya target, misalnya 2025 itu 23% dari bauran energi Indonesia itu dari new dan renewable. Kemudian nantinya di tahun 2050 31% ya. Dan persentase naik, tetapi juga karena kita yakin pertambahan penduduk juga dan juga perkembangan perekonomian atau perkembangan kualitas hidup, maka konsumsi energinya penduduk juga akan naik, sehingga persentase naik, tapi juga berbarengan dengan itu total energi yang dibutuhkan di nasional di Indonesia juga naik. Nah, ini tentu membuat PR bagi kita ya, bagaimana kita memenuhi kebutuhan energi. Nah, terkait itu riset-riset yang dilakukan di BRIN terkait di Badan Riset dan Inovasi Nasional yang terkait dengan energi, salah satu yang kita kembangkan yang pertama adalah bagaimana kita mengubah ya minyak kelapa sawit itu menjadi biofuel, baik itu solar, bensin maupun aftur ya. Nah, ini yang sedang dilakukan di BRIN bersama-sama dengan tim ITB. Nah, jadi kita mengubah dari sawit, minyak kelapa sawit untuk menjadi biofuel. Itu dengan proses yang dikatalisis dan katalisnya dikembangkan di ITB. Jadi kita di satu sisi mengembangkan pabrik katalisnya, ini utamanya dengan teman-teman di Kementerian ESDM. Kemudian kalau dilihat ini ada Pupuk Kujang, ada Pertamina, ada dari ini yang ikut serta dalam konsorsium ini. Tetapi di sisi yang lain kita juga mengembangkan bagaimana memproduksi ya minyak atau bahan bakar ini berbasis minyak sawit, dan ini nantinya diintegrasikan ya dengan kebun rakyat. Nah ini yang kita berharap ini nantinya bisa menjadi model bagaimana integrasi inovasi itu dengan kebun atau petani rakyat, dan ini bisa diharapkan menjadi model kooperasi yang memproduksi produk yang mempunyai nilai tambah yang tinggi gitu ya. Nah, ini prosesnya atau secara proses katalisisnya sudah di level skala pilot di pabrik di ITB di skala pilot. Nah, ini sedang diperbesar untuk skala-skala yang lebih besar. Nah, yang kedua tentu nuklir tadi disinggung-singgung oleh Pak Paul juga, gitu ya. Kita juga melakukan studi persiapan tapak dan sebagainya, sehingga kalau nanti secara nasional diputuskan kita akan mengadopsi atau membangun pusat listrik tenaga nuklir, maka sudah siap ya. Jadi sebetulnya studi-studi pendahuluan, baik itu untuk studi kelayakannya, teknologinya, maupun juga dari sisi manajemen terkait dengan penyiapan SDM dan juga pengelolaan limbahnya dan sebagainya itu sudah dilakukan. Utamanya ini di bawah atau dikoordinasi oleh teman-teman di Batan ya, tetapi juga banyak terlibat di sini dari kita di BRIN, kemudian dari perindustrian, ESDM dan PBT dan seterusnya. Nah, demikian juga terkait dengan koordinasi dengan Dewan Energi Nasional. Ya. Jadi kalau nantinya itu disiapkan, maka itu harus ada organisasi yang menjadi koordinator dari persiapan pusat listrik tenaga nuklir. Yang berikutnya yang riset-riset yang terkait dengan pusat listrik tenaga panas bumi juga dilakukan di kita ya di BRIN, dan ini termasuk prioritas riset nasional juga. Jadi bagaimana melakukan membangun pusat listrik tenaga panas bumi. Nah ini yang dilakukan baik di feasibility study-nya maupun bagaimana mengenerate atau mendesain turbin, gearbox dan generatornya sampai kepada nantinya melakukan optimasi ya, sistem kontrol dan optimasinya, otomatisasinya, kemudian juga bagaimana membalance di situsnya atau di pusat listriknya. Ya. Nah ini teman-teman dari BBT, PT LAN, PLN, Indonesia Power dan sebagainya ikut terlibat. Berikutnya, nah ini yang terkait dengan perpindahan atau transisi kita ke energi listrik dan kendaraan berbasis baterai. Kita juga melakukan riset terkait dengan pengembangan baterai lithium. Ya. Jadi ini yang dilakukan di kami, utamanya di UNS ya. Didukung oleh Pertamina, LIPI, dan berbagai institusi lain ya. Jadi sekarang di UNS ada unit yang melakukan riset dan di skala pilot juga ya, di skala produksi kecil gitu, memproduksi baterai lithium ini. Nah, ini yang sekarang juga menjadi satu konsorsium di kami, prioritas riset nasional, termasuk juga bagaimana menggunakan mineral-mineral yang ada di Indonesia. Ya, harapannya nanti mineral-mineral misalnya kandungan nikel, kemudian lithium mungkin di Indonesia belum ya, tapi ada berita baru barangkali di beberapa daerah ada sumber-sumber lithium yang bisa kita gunakan. Nah itu nantinya juga akan. Sementara yang diproduksi di UNS ini masih menggunakan bahan-bahan komersial ya, tetapi kemudian ke depan kita juga ingin menggunakan bagaimana mineral-mineral dari alam kita juga dimanfaatkan untuk kegiatan. Nah harapannya jadi menjadi nilai tambah bagi masyarakat kita juga. Nah, ini ke depan bagaimana ini kemudian diintegrasikan dengan yang direncanakan di MindID, holding BUMN kita, supaya juga bisa berkolaborasi dengan hasil-hasil riset ini bisa dimanfaatkan untuk produksi baterai yang ke depan pasti diperkirakan akan semakin membesar kebutuhannya karena transisi kita menjadi kendaraan listrik berbasis baterai. Mungkin itu beberapa seri yang bisa saya sampaikan, Pak Herman. Terima kasih.
Ya, waktunya sangat bagus. Tapi kalau masih ada nanti Pak Is silakan ditambahkan. Kita punya cukup banyak waktu ya. Now I speak English again because our next speaker will be English speaking speaker. The next speaker will be Masada-san ya, Masada-san. One moment, I will introduce you, Masada-san.
Okay, thank you.
One moment. I don't know. I have problem with this.
Pak Herman izin masih di mute Pak suaranya.
Karena saya di mute terus ya, jadi gini otomatis saja. Saya tadi itu di mute. Tolong mungkin saya jangan di mute ya. Jadi saya tadi di mute, jadi saya udah bicara ternyata nggak dengar. Jadi ulang lagi nih ya. Tolong host please don't mute me ya, please. Because if you mute me and I don't know that you mute me and I speak without anybody listen to me. Okay, Mr. Junichiro Masada is from the Mitsubishi Power Japan. His organization is Mitsubishi Power Japan. His position in the company is Executive Vice President or Chief Technology Officers. His latest education is Bachelor of Engineering from Tokyo University. And his area of interest in energy is gas turbine and hydrogen fuel cells. Mr. Masada-san is also an old friend of Maskeei person, the co-chairman, Bapak Sigit Santoso of ITB. Masada-san and Pak Sigit Santoso are the classmates when they studied in MIT 30 years ago. And Mitsubishi has also cooperated with ITB on the area of the carbon neutral technology and industry academia collaboration. That's my introduction to Masada-san. The time is yours, and if you want to add more information about yourself, you can add it. Please take your time, Masada-san.
Thank you, Herman-san. So let me introduce our technology and the collaboration with ITB. Okay, so thank you very much for introduction of myself. And this is a photograph. When we have the kickoff meeting with ITB for collaboration of the carbon neutral technologies. And this is an old photograph in my MIT days, 30 years ago. And this is me, Junichiro Masada. And here, this is Sugito Santos-san, my old friend, co-chairman of this organization, this seminar. And coincidentally, I met him in Jakarta 2019. And at that time, he invited me the collaboration of ITB. And actually, this batik is his gift in 30 years ago. So I'm really happy to work with him. And I can have the presentation here today. Okay. So, concerning the carbon neutral technologies, this is a roadmap of Mitsubishi Power. First step is the CO2 reduction by utilizing high temperature, high efficiency gas turbine. By using this technology, we can reduce 65% CO2 from coal firing power plant. So this is the first step. We already applied this technology to all over the world. And the second step is CO2 capture. We have the CO2 capture technologies, and we already have the some pilot plant in United States. And if we use this system, we can reduce 90% CO2 reduction, also from coal or gas turbine combined cycle. And our last target, final target, is CO2 zero, utilizing hydrogen gas turbine technologies. As you know, hydrogen does not generate CO2. So if we utilize hydrogen gas turbine, we can achieve CO2 zero emission. And this is a roadmap. We can achieve this CO2 zero by 2030. Actually, we also have the very high target in Japan. We should achieve 46% CO2 reduction by 2030. So this kind of technology is mandatory for our country target. And I think this is similar as the Indonesia. So we believe our technology can contribute to Indonesian power situation also. And next page is more detail about the hydrogen gas turbine technologies. We burn hydrogen from 1970. We have the 50 years experience of the hydrogen burning with water injection for the emission. And we developed a premix type burner. This is the type 2. This is also completed in 2018. And this can burn 30% of co-firing of hydrogen without any water injection and steam injection. And we are now developing type 3, multi-cluster type combustor. And this can achieve 100% hydrogen firing without any water injection. This can achieve by 2025. This is a final target of our technology. And this is a real project all over the world. We are now developing the hydrogen burning combined cycle in Netherlands. And we will apply type 1 combustor in this Netherlands project. And also in United States, we are now constructing advanced clean energy storage project. This is a kind of interesting project since in United States, there are lots of big salt cable under the ground. So we generate hydrogen by utilizing renewable energy. And we use this hydrogen as a power generation utilizing our gas turbine technologies. So it's a kind of the energy storage technology by utilizing hydrogen. And this is the last chart. But in order to utilize this technology, collaboration with the Bandung Institute of Technology is really important. Since Japan, Indonesia, both countries are island country, and resource of the renewable energy is not so rich, same as Japan and Indonesia. That's why we are now enthusiastic to develop hydrogen as a storage media of electricity. So we are now working with the Bandung Institute of Technology, hydrogen, biomass, other issues. So today, if we can discuss this kind of matter, it's really happy this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Masada-san. We will discuss later about your presentation. You may add also other information. We still have much time. Now I will move to the next speaker. Let me share the screen for introduction. Masada-san, can you stop your screen share, please? Yeah, thank you. One moment, this one. Our next speaker will be Mr. Wai-Shin. He is CFA Head of Climate Change Center of Excellence Global, Head of ESG Research. So many acronyms that I'm not familiar with, yeah, but we will know from him later. Wai-Shin is the head of HSBC Climate Change Center of Excellence and also head of Environmental Social Governance, ESG, Environmental Social Governance Research. His dual role involves analysis of climate change and its multi-asset implication, and as well as the integration of ESG within HSBC's global research. Wai-Shin has previously worked as a fund manager and was an equity analyst for several years. He has also spent time in the non-profit sector, focusing on sustainable investing. Wai-Shin holds a degree in mathematics and physics from Durham University of United Kingdom and is a CFA charter holder. What is CFA? Chief Finance Certified?
It's a financial analyst. So I'm an analyst. I'm not an engineer like you all. You're much smarter than I am.
Okay, Mr. Wai-Shin, the time is yours, and it is interesting to hear about HSBC research. Yeah? Please take your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim, and thank you for to my esteemed colleagues for your very interesting presentation so far. So, I'm not an R&D implementer, nor an engineer like you all on this panel, but I am an analyst. So I'm a financial analyst, and I would like to come at this from a big picture perspective, if I may. So we've looked, in my research, we've looked a lot at the indicators for climate readiness across developed and emerging and frontier markets. And so I will draw upon that research here insofar as it is relevant for R&D and innovation in energy to support the economy. I would like to make 4 main points, if I may, covering 1, signals of ambition, 2, capacity building, what that really means and what that really is, 3, sustainability integrity, and then 4, financing for innovation. So allow me to begin. Signals of ambition. I'm looking at this from a high-level country viewpoint. So R&D and innovation works best when it's going with the flow of the river and not against it. Now, what I mean by that is, are there national policies and goals that the innovation can be contributing towards or working towards, in the sense that there is competition to collectively achieve something? So hearing some of the national goals, etc., is fantastic. I think for Indonesia, climate and energy targets at a national level should feel ambitious, with a general sense of they could be even more ambitious, and that is a good thing. So I've been reading about the announcements of no new coal from 2023, or renewables, soon to be half of power generation by 2030, or climate neutrality, for example, by 2070, 2060, I think the target now is, and a possible carbon tax. Now, these are steps in the right direction, but they should come with visible and related policies that touch the population and all areas of the economy. This is definitely coming from a financial analysis point of view. So I think getting rid of gasoline fuel subsidies, for example, in 2015 is an excellent example of this type of signaling from the government. Now, it is important that everyone in the country should feel in their everyday lives that fossil fuels are coming to an end in the foreseeable future, and that fossil fuels and the reduction of these isn't just some lofty target that the government has set and will try to do, maybe, and that fossil fuel reduction doesn't affect our lives in any way. That's not correct. This becomes visible in the regulations and the policies that are put in place. So the government needs to be talking about it, the media is talking about it, and businesses are talking about it. So these are national policies coupled with more nuanced policies at a local or a sector level. What I mean here is stakeholders can see how it will affect them, whether that's through cleaner air, whether that's through newer technology, or the more efficient management of various infrastructure systems. Now, that is important because the policy should come with clear incentives to effect the change. And this involves good transmission mechanisms through quality national or local institutions implemented within the boundaries of an effective rule of law, etc. So finally on this theme, providing a market, I think that's very important. So government agencies and facilities are some of the first to participate in the innovation and the technology that comes with energy management. So whether that is saying that all government buildings will switch to better energy systems by a certain date, or will all use 100% renewable energy by a certain date, or go through a specific fleet conversion, whatever. But it's about giving a visible market to the energy innovations that are out there. It is sending the right signals that there will be a market for your products, and the government will initialize that market. Very, very usually the private sector will follow if the government agencies show the leadership. Next, I'd like to talk about capacity building. It's one of those buzzwords that float around, but here's what I mean by it. So it is not just giving a training session. That's boring. Our research looked at over 70 countries globally, and we found that similar to signals of ambition, it's about the overall capacity of the country, including the general public. So this is not something that can be built overnight. It begins with education, the strengthening of schools that feed into academic institutions in a manner that can raise the overall education levels of a country, and such that there are more guidance and more graduates, and these are more skilled. And because this is for the purposes of R&D and energy and climate, I would like to highlight especially the education in STEM. So another acronym for you, Mr. Ibrahim. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But it doesn't stop there. After our students graduate, they require the infrastructure to support them in the world of work. This might sound really obvious, and I apologize if it does, but appropriate job opportunities, so programs with private and public sector that encourage placements and internships, are there the right programs that can convert this educational attainment and skills into future economic growth through idea generation and innovation? This is where R&D investment could pay off. In my view, it's definitely about the long term rather than just the short term specific single ideas. So let's not forget that access to technology. So, I mean, another indicator that we looked at in our research was broadband coverage, for example. We found that the overall education and creativity levels were higher in economies with wider broadband coverage. It's difficult to single this out, perhaps as a driving correlating causation, but it is interesting because innovation builds upon itself. One foundational technology leads to more advanced foundational and advanced technologies, and this isn't going to be an awful there isn't going to be an awful lot of research going on if there isn't the infrastructure in place to support that through access to information, connectivity, and the means to test and share ideas with others. So also within capacity building, we consider the understanding and use of the natural endowments of an economy, of the land. So things like the availability of certain commodities and minerals, asking questions like, are these minerals and commodities conducive to cleaner technology, advanced energy systems? However, the next step of this is owning the value chain. Now, by that I mean, is there a strategy for turning these minerals into products, using them in local industries to convert them into higher value products, which at the same time can be used for R&D and innovation? So our research found that Indonesia is blessed with a lot of these minerals, which is great. And I was very pleased to hear Professor Ismunandar earlier talking about this when he said, he spoke about batteries and EV research using local resources. That's much, much better than just selling the raw materials abroad. This is about owning the entire value chain within a single economy, driving innovation, driving idea generation, and driving creativity, and at the same time driving efficiency. Another aspect of natural endowments that I won't go into much at this stage is about the abundance of sort of natural and free resources that can be utilized. So hydropower, geothermal, bioenergy, as well as solar, wind, and ocean energy, for example. The questions to ask are, what are the policies and regulations that drive, that encourage, and also fund the development of these sources in a local context? I think that's very important. The local context. Do we have the right incentives at central and local level, as well as the financing mechanisms? So before I talk about financing, I'd like to run briefly through sustainability integrity. This is about encouraging domestic companies to have good energy and climate policies. Now, good means laying out the visions at a corporate level, setting out the appropriate targets, and then disclosing the information on progress. Corporate management, senior leaders at many companies should be incentivized to deliver and not just set a target without the appropriate corporate strategy to deliver on that. Otherwise, it just becomes greenwashing, and I know that's something that all of us are keen to avoid. But giving a wide range of stakeholders a voice is very important here. So the company should be listening to investors, local communities, workers, and customers, because they need to feel involved and be part of this momentum. They need to be cheering you on, so to speak. We're all watching football at the moment. Cheering you on is so important. But these stakeholders can also be a sort of check and balance to the vision, to the targets, and the progress. And as I said, there are means to help avoid greenwashing. And that means that they can actually help advance the progress and the innovation. So final comment to make about sustainability integrity is not to cherry pick areas of focus from a government policy level. Say, don't just pick energy innovation or whatever, at the detriment of other sustainability and related issues, because this doesn't bring your whole stakeholder group along with you. So there must be consistency. Okay, on to financial innovation. Nothing really works without appropriate funding and financing. And providing this at the early stages of R&D and innovation is vital. The financing options available are at the same time new and at the same time not so new. Some of the old. So some of the old are well-established incentivization schemes, so various tax incentives in whatever form. But these only work when the product is up and running and generating revenue. So more important for R&D is direct financing at an early stage, access to capital through lending, through guarantees, and also innovative financing. I think the concept of blended financing is well known and it's important, especially when it comes to R&D. The public sector working with the private sector to structure the availability of finance to increase the reward and decrease the risk. Now, if I could say that the reward is not just in terms of monetary performance, it's about building technological know-how. It's about training up the workforce with with new skills, and it's about giving room to innovators to create new ideas. It's a bit like raising children, maybe. Gone are the days where people had children just so that they can work in the fields. Now it's about love, it's about joy, it's about the hope they can bring us, and maybe a lot of frustration too. But the reward for financing innovation is capacity building and sending out the right signals. So traditional financing through subsidized loans with schemes to guarantees a specific portion, the first loss or whatever, via government agencies. And this can mobilize private capital to get involved. So asking, is there a government vehicle through which all this happens? And I apologize, my knowledge of Indonesia is not as good as everyone else here, but we should be also thinking about the various fixed income options as well, the myriad of bonds available, green bonds, sustainability linked bonds, green sukuk. These can be structured in ways to provide access to funding for R&D projects. Again, a centralized body can issue the bonds, but choosing early stage projects, bearing the rewards that I mentioned earlier in mind. The choosing of projects should come with signaling, should come with capacity building, and should come with sustainability integrity. Now, not every research project will lead to technologies that can be scaled commercially in the near or at least medium-term time frame. So we need to think about long-term. I think the next phase of Indonesia's sustainable finance roadmap is brilliant. It will play a crucial part because it can tidy up a lot of areas. And I think R&D and innovation should be encouraged within this sustainable finance roadmap. And it should be incentivized, especially at the early stages. So this should definitely be included within the roadmap and also the taxonomy and any other incentive schemes. So I will stop there. Thank you so much.
But very quick question to HSBC. Did HSBC contribute to the R&D fund in Indonesia?
I'm not sure actually. It's probably some aspect of HSBC Indonesia.
So, I want to ask that question because yeah. Okay, we will discuss later. Thank you, Wai-Shin Chan.
Thank you,
Wai-Shin Chan. You are. I noticed that you are an analyst, not engineer. So you may enrich this discussion with your analysis. Yeah, especially on energy transition, low carbon actions, and also in R&D activities. I will ask the organizer first. Will we have the keynotes now or later? Because it is video tapping. Hello? Okay, if there is no response from organizer, I assume that video tape for the keynote speakers will be made the latest, yeah, after discussion. So now we will discuss with all speakers. I think the intention of this topic is to share knowledge and information on how R&D, research and development and innovation will support the low carbon actions, low carbon activities that at the end will be the key factors for energy transition. Paris Agreement has achieved one of the important agreed points, which is to set the net zero emission by 2050, especially for the developed countries. So 2050, we will be net zero emission worldwide. That's the expectation. But currently, we have, as we know, at the moment, around these latest years, around 85% of our energy is still from fossil energy, coal, gas, and petrol. Yeah. So 85%, 5% from nuclears, and only 10% from renewables. So we will turn this into, we will, not only turning, but it's maybe replaced by, in opposite sides. Maybe later we will have 90% or 85% at least renewable and only 15% non-renewable. So this will involve change of technology, change of the primary energy technology, and also maybe change of the behavior, attitudes, yeah. And this will involve research and development. Research and development to create a solution and innovation that will support this movement and actions. Now, I want to ask you, I will ask you also, I will start maybe with a specific question to the speakers. To the first speaker, to Paul, I want to ask Paul, how is the transition to 100% renewable electricity by 2040 look like in detail? Can you show us? Maybe and what would be what you can share with Indonesia to follow these steps, this plan? Please, Paul.
Yeah, it's not that complicated actually, because we already have 66% renewables and the rest is more or less nuclear. So I would say that the Swedish adventure is not that difficult. Of course, if we want to have it renewable, we need to replace about 30% of the nuclear, and the development on that is mainly on wind power, ocean-based energy, and solar energy. So I don't think that is a very big issue for Sweden, but for Indonesia, of course, I think it's more important that Indonesia changes its electricity production towards renewables, because you're a large country, you need electrification, you need access to electricity, and it should be more profitable to do it in the renewable way rather than continue using fossil fuels. One thing that I could say that is part of the roadmap, and has always been part of the roadmap in Sweden, is that we have put a lot of resources into research and development. It's been around 3 to 4% of GDP. 3 to 4% of GDP to research and development. Of course, industry is contributing. It's not only from the state. Industry is doing a lot of it. But in Indonesia, I think it's less than 0.5% of GDP. So put more of your efforts into, if I can be frank, into education and healthcare, and not into fossil fuel subsidies. That would pave the way for Indonesia to achieve its targets, because you have immense possibilities and immense resources when it comes to renewable energy and the sustainable development. So that's one of my messages. Sorry to be so frank, but I think that is the policy that is needed.
So for the energy transition, how will the transportation be? What's the transition in the transportation sector will be?
Well, we see it globally now that it's a lot of electrification for the personal vehicles, right? But there will also be a need for biofuels. So, well, I will commend Indonesia on working with biofuels, although they have to be sustainable. So we don't want to have deforestation. We need to have sustainable palm oil production, for example. And biofuels will be needed probably in some sectors, not at least aviation. I think that is one of the sectors that could use biofuels in the future. But when we talk about electrification, of course, the electricity needs to be also green electricity. Otherwise, you will just put the carbon emissions into the electricity production sector instead of the transport sector, right?
Yeah. This time, with 85% of fossil energy, carbon emissions is still huge because application of the carbon capture and storage still not developed and implemented. Okay, thanks, Paul. I will move to, before Pak Ismunandar, I will move to Masada-san. Masada-san, your area of interest in energy is gas turbine and hydrogen fuel cells. Maybe can you elaborate a bit about hydrogen, the future of hydrogen fuel cells? How it will? You already discussed a bit about how it will be produced, but what will be the role of the hydrogen fuel cell in the future, according to Mitsubishi research?
Okay, so
fuel cell, yeah.
Let me explain by PowerPoint. Okay. So, first of all, concerning the hydrogen, we are developing the hydrogen gas turbine. And to be honest, gas turbine technology is not so difficult. We can achieve CO2 zero definitely by 2025. So, but the problem in the hydrogen production, especially cost of hydrogen. So, we are now developing the hydrogen park in Japan. This is Takasago factory, and we have the verification actual combined cycle power plant in the factory. So we can verify, we can develop gas turbine. But the key is hydrogen production. So we are now installing the hydrogen production device, such as electrolyzer or high fuel SOEC, which is the hydrogen production fuel cell device, and verify, and we are trying to reduce the cost of hydrogen and complete the hydrogen supply chain. So this is the hydrogen development futures. But concerning the Indonesia, I learned lots from the ITB in these 1 year's collaboration, and Indonesia is not so rich for the resource of solar and wind. So hydrogen is an important technology for such as United States or Japan, since we can rely on the renewable energy of the California area or something. So hydrogen is a nice technology for the energy storage. But for Indonesia, renewable energy resource is not so rich. Actually, that is same as Japan. So during the collaboration with ITB, we think most feasible solution could be the biomass, as Mr. Ismunandar said. So we also have the lots of biomass power plant in all over the world. So we can reduce the CO2 by biomass, or maybe if we have the 5% co-firing, we can reduce half of CO2. So I think this is a feasible solution for Indonesia. So we are now working with the ITB to realize this kind of technology. That is one solution.
50% biomass.
55% biomass, yes.
Yeah, but I'm interested in knowing the future of the hydrogen fuel cell.
Okay.
If we have, what would be the barrier for the use, not the development? Yeah, technologically, hydrogen fuel already no problem, but
No problem.
commercially,
Right. Commercially problem. High cost of hydrogen is a barrier to apply the hydrogen technologies. But probably this is one solution for Indonesia. I learned from ITB, cost of electricity in small island area is really expensive. And also many islands use the old diesel engine, features a lots of CO2 and emission. At that time, if we install renewable energy such as a wind cell or PV, and we use our electrolyzer and fuel cell technologies, we can have the independent grid in small island. If cost of electricity is high compared to the main island like Java, maybe this can pay. And this can realize CO2 zero with hydrogen technology. So I think this could be contribute to Indonesia.
What is the solid oxide fuel cell technology actually?
Actually, solid oxide fuel cell is a kind of the ceramic bar. We introduce hydrogen in ceramic bar and heat up. We can generate electricity, and the exhaust gas is just H2O, zero CO2. So if we use this technology, we can generate CO2 zero generation utilizing hydrogen.
Okay, Masada, arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I move to Pak Ismunandar. Pak Ismunandar, saya bahasa Indonesia aja dengan Pak Is. Pak Ismunandar sudah ada?
Ya Pak, silakan Pak.
Ya Pak Is ya. Jadi bulan lalu kali ya. Ya betul. Kami di Dewan Energi Nasional bertemu Pak Mas Menteri ya, Mas Nadiem. Dan beliau salah satu yang dia highlight dan kami share ketika itu bahwa riset itu mesti fokus. Kalau semuanya di riset itu berarti tidak fokus gitu. Itu pandangan beliau. Sehingga hari ini saya ingin tanyakan ini ke Pak Is, kira-kira untuk mendukung low carbon dan juga energy transition, kalau mau difokus, kira-kira fokusnya kemana? Tapi yang saya lihat kalau yang tadi dipresentasiin masuk ke semua area. Tapi kalau yang tadi itu menurut komentar Pak Nadiem, Pak Mas Menteri itu, kalau semuanya di riset itu namanya nggak fokus katanya. Jadi kalau yang fokus itu adalah yang di riset itu sempit, biayanya fokus ke sana. Jadi biayanya fokus, areanya fokus. Nah saya tertarik untuk mendukung kira-kira low carbon di Indonesia secara bayangan aja. Mungkin jawaban personal Pak Is juga cukup. Ataupun juga apa yang sudah didiskusikan di BRIN atau di organisasi.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Herman. Jadi BRIN sendiri sebetulnya ya karena reshuffle kemarin itu dulunya Ristek BRIN itu satu kementerian Pak ya.
Iya.
Sekarang BRIN-nya itu menjadi badan independen, risteknya dititip, disampaikan pindahkan ke Dikbud gitu ya. Nah, yang ingin saya sampaikan, saya masih di BRIN, jadi saya membantu Pak Andoko, Kepala BRIN.
Ya.
Nah, terkait fokus, nah kalau fokusnya sendiri sebetulnya Pak Andoko ini sudah menyebut riset secara keseluruhan itu fokus yang akan dilakukan ke depan 3 saja Pak. Jadi yang pertama adalah green economy ya, kemudian digital economy yang kedua, dan yang ketiga adalah blue ya. Jadi digital, green dan blue gitu ya. Blue-nya itu ocean ya,
Ocean ya.
keanekaragaman laut kita. Nah, jadi yang sangat terkait dengan energi tentu yang yang green tadi ya, walaupun tentu yang digital juga, misalnya untuk aspek pengelolaan grid dan sebagainya pasti banyak aspek yang dari situ ya, gitu. Nah, sebetulnya Pak tadi sangat-sangat fokus ya 3 hal tadi. Tapi sebetulnya kita itu di nasional melalui awalnya dulu dari peraturan presiden ya, ada rencana induk riset nasional, kemudian diterjemahkan menjadi prioritas riset nasional. Yang menetapkan pada waktu itu adalah Pak Menristek Dikti ya, waktu kabinet sebelumnya. Nah, di situ itu kita sudah punya 49 produk andalan ya. 49 produk andalan yang dikembangkan, harapannya tidak berhenti di riset atau hasil penelitian saja, tetapi jadi produk ya, jadi produk. Nah, terkait energi itu ada 4 ya. Yang pertama bahan bakar dari sawit gitu ya. Kemudian yang kedua tadi prototipe PLTN tadi, nuklir, kemudian PLT panas bumi yang saya sampaikan juga tadi, dan yang keempat baterai lithium dan charging stationnya gitu. Jadi sebetulnya yang saya sampaikan memang tadi seolah banyak ya Pak, tapi sebetulnya ya itu memang sesuai dengan prioritas riset nasional gitu. Mungkin gitu Pak.
Saya kira itu terima kasih informasinya. Cuma kalau tanggapan saya sedikit, barangkali nanti ini perlu diskusi juga BRIN dengan DEN seperti tadi Pak sampaikan. Karena kalau lihat transisi energi yang mau diandalin itu lebih kepada solar energi ya. Baterai jelas perlu, solar energinya bagaimana kita juga mengembangkan solar energi dengan TKDN yang tinggi gitu. Kayaknya itu yang perlu didukung mungkin oleh BRIN. Tapi saya punya pertanyaan satu lagi tentang riset nasional ya. Kira-kira bagaimana kebutuhan ahli risetnya dan dukungan biaya? Kira-kira ini seberapa cukup ya kira-kira kita untuk melakukan riset yang benar-benar memberikan solusi dan inovasi yang bermanfaat? Jangan, kan kebanyakan gini, kalau kawan-kawan perguruan tinggi, saya juga dosen, jadi saya ngajar juga Pak Is. Saya juga advisory board di ITB, Elektro STI, dan dosennya di UI, dosen luar biasa. Nah, kan riset-riset kita itu banyak fokus memang untuk ada biayanya, pokoknya ya risetnya dilakukan gitu ya. Tapi tentu di BRIN akan lebih terarah. Tapi saya tertarik untuk dengar, di-share ke kawan-kawan ini kira-kira tenaga-tenaga ahli dan pembiayaan.
Baik. Mungkin tadi saya ingin sekalian juga address Mr. Chan tadi menyebut ya bahwa ke depan insentif riset itu sangat penting ya. Dan yang ingin saya sampaikan Pak, pertama memang ya betul potretnya di Indonesia itu selama ini kita riset itu masih 80-an ya, malah mungkin sampai 85% itu baik sumber daya finansial atau uangnya gitu, dan juga sumber daya manusianya itu masih yang dari pemerintah gitu ya. Sektor swasta itu kontribusinya pada riset masih kurang. Nah, ini yang ke depan yang ingin diperbesar ya, bagaimana kontribusi swasta. Oleh karena itu ada insentif pajak ya, insentif pajak bagi industri yang melakukan riset dan development. Bisa sampai 300% ya. Jadi kalau dia mengeluarkan dana riset $1 atau $1, itu in teori bisa sampai $3 dia dapat pengurangan pajaknya.
Ya.
Nah itu salah satu insentif yang harapannya kita dengan begitu mendorong kontribusi swasta lebih besar, baik dari sisi pendanaan riset maupun ya kalau risetnya itu didanai oleh atau diberi insentif pengurangan pajak sampai 300%, harapannya kemudian swasta-swasta itu juga akhirnya merekrut tenaga-tenaga peneliti, karena dengan begitu ya dia bisa melakukan penelitian selain tentu bisa berkolaborasi dengan periset dan dosen di perguruan tinggi ya. Nah itu harapannya ke depan, jadi jumlah penelitinya per juta penduduknya itu nanti semakin lama semakin mendekati angka-angka negara tetangga kita ya. Kalau dengan Singapura kita agak jauh ya. Kita itu kalau angka jumlah periset per juta penduduk kita itu baru sekitar 200-an Pak. Jadi padahal kalau kayak negara-negara maju, Singapura, US itu 3.000 sekian ya per juta penduduk. Nah ini kita memang harapannya memang semakin banyak di swasta gitu ya. Jadi tentu kita juga perlu terus meningkatkan kuantitas dan kualitas peneliti baik di perguruan tinggi maupun di lembaga-lembaga riset kita, tetapi kita berharap karena yang pengalaman-pengalaman negara maju dan sebagainya itu adalah yang justru sangat penting itu yang di sektor swastanya. Demikian Pak.
Saya kira dengan kalau biaya risetnya ditingkatkan pasti jumlah risetnya bertambah.
Ya.
Cuman kalau biayanya segitu-gitu aja, tentu ya dibagi sejumlah riset jadi agak
Ya itu tadi Pak. Jadi kita menaikkan kuantitasnya salah satunya dengan sektor swastanya ikut berkontribusi lebih besar. Karena negara seperti tetangga kita Thailand, Malaysia itu proporsi swastanya jauh lebih besar sudah Pak daripada kita. Kita itu yang swasta mungkin masih kurang dari 15%.
Sebenarnya yang pernah dibicarakan juga adalah di Dewan Energi tentang apa istilahnya itu carbon tax salah satu dan juga deflation premium dari energi fosil. Jadi kalau energi fosil itu pendapatannya yang tapi ini mau berakhir juga kan pendapatan energi fosil. Nah itu dibelanjakan untuk research dan pengembangan dan juga untuk proyek renewable energy atau low carbon energy. Tapi ya nanti kita diskusi. Terima kasih Pak Is. Saya lanjut. I will continue to, a question before we have general question to all speakers. So now I will ask Wai-Shin, Mr. Wai-Shin Chan from HSBC. You are an analyst, so maybe you can have comment on a research carried out worldwide to support the climate change. How do you see it?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? What kind of...
I have a general question to you about, as you are an analyst from the bank, so please elaborate your view on what do you see the research on renewable energy and climate change worldwide? If you can comment, please. But if not, no problem.
You mean what will work?
Well, how do you see the research carried out by countries and by big corporations worldwide to support climate change?
I see. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. There's a lot of research going on, and I think that's a good thing. It has to be a bit more widespread, however. It has to be widespread and supported, is what I mean. I think it needs to be supported by all areas of the value chain, not just on the technology side, but also on the funding side and also on the implementation side. So once these technologies are at a place where they can be implemented at a sort of local or national level, that's what I was saying earlier, where the governments really need to say, we will provide a market for you. And that's a very, very important part. That adds to the incentivization process as well. I think also researching what works in a local context, because not all forms of energy will work everywhere. There was a mention of solar, but then a lot of the solar production is elsewhere in the world. Some places don't have the solar, some places don't have the wind, but Indonesia, I know, is very, very blessed with geothermal, for example, and biofuels has been discussed on this panel so far. So using either the natural resources that have been mentioned, I think is very, very important. Bringing and giving the local stakeholders and partners an option to be a part of local projects, so the financing as well, I think is very, very important to contribute to climate change. But then having, as I said earlier, national targets that are ambitious, really driving everyone towards the same goal is important. But it's not just about power. You already asked questions earlier about transportation, but there's also industry. There's also sort of building efficiency. I know the previous panel was about sort of green buildings and things, but lower carbon energy, as Paul mentioned, can enable other sectors, especially on the electricity side, and it can create the demand from other sectors, and that's very, very important. If a low carbon industry says, I would like more renewable energy, and is willing to say, I will buy 100% renewable energy, that you produce, can you please produce it? That's, I think, a lot of incentive to say, okay, how can we produce more? We've got these power purchase agreements for our offtake that will guarantee a purchaser. So it's providing that type of incentive system. And then one final point that I'd like to make for lower carbon energy, it's not just all about reducing our fossil fuels, but it's also thinking about how we use energy. I think the energy efficiency side of things is very important as well. So, I mean, this panel is about energy demand management, but if we can encourage our industries, our transportation, but, you know, even things like our buildings and our general population to use less energy, that's a very, very big step in the right direction. What always amazed me about Japan actually is post the Fukushima incident a decade ago now. What happened most was not just the change in or the switch away from nuclear into fossil fuels and gas. That was necessary by default, but Japan, which was already very energy efficient, became even more energy efficient, and they lowered the amount for energy demand. I think developing economies can definitely grow in a more energy efficient way. At least don't follow the path of developed countries. And if we can educate our population, industry to do that, that would be fantastic. A step in the right direction for climate change as well.
Thank you. I move now to general question. Each speaker, you may comment or you may not comment, but I will ask you regarding the research carried out worldwide by the countries and by the government. A few years ago, I was invited by Universitas Pertahanan, Defense University in Sentul, to speak about research on renewable energy. And I found countries that contribute to the research, mostly EU and United States, Japan and China, and the rest not so active in research. And also big corporation, they spend money for research in order to sell product, not really on, you know, product related to renewable energy, but their motive is their product, not the climate change, neither the low carbon in general. So now I want to ask, I will ask you a question. Do you think the current R&D of countries and this big corporation is sufficient, is adequate to support climate change mitigation and energy transition, the future energy transition? You only need to comment. One by one from Paul. You want to comment?
Absolutely. No, it's not enough yet, but I think we have seen actually quite a rapid change of mind in the big corporations around the globe. I don't know if you can see, but I have, no, you cannot, because I have the screen, but I have Bill Gates' book here, How to Avoid the Climate Disaster. Guys like that, you know, the big, very rich guys, they are actually going forward on this journey. I think that should also be pertinent to the rich people in Indonesia. They need to see the opportunities of investing in the renewable and the future, right? Yeah. So also you have huge amounts of private cash around your country. I also think that Indonesia is a G20 country, right? You're in the G16 or something like that at the moment, and projected to become G4, G5 in 2035 or 2040 or something like that. Okay, then you need to step up also on the investments on research and development and the transition. So I'm a bit frank today, but I think it's very important. It's very important for Indonesia to not be dependent on sort of bilateral aid or something like that. You're grown up now. You're grown up now. You should sort of try to allocate the funds in that direction. But please take advantage of the international cooperation in the International Energy Agency, for example, where we are all joining forces. In IRENA, in other multilateral corporations. These are very good platforms.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks. Now I hope to Masada-san. What do you think about this international research carried out by the countries? And especially maybe does Japan government provide you funds for research in Mitsubishi, or only Mitsubishi funds?
Right. Right. Yeah, as you pointed out, concerning the R&D activity, Japan is a really nice country. They give us the many budget to develop hydrogen or fuel cell or other technologies. And also, Japan is a nice country to collaborate with the international countries, such as Indonesia also. As you know, Indonesia and Japan have a really good relationship. And Japanese embassy supported to have the collaboration with ITB. And they accept to utilize Japanese national government R&D technology to Indonesia, such as the hydrogen. So as a Japanese company, we wanted to utilize this Japanese government funded technology as much as possible to apply in Indonesia. But in order to do that, collaboration with ITB is really important, since we learn lots from the ITB about the situation of Indonesia, and also ITB has a lots of nice technology, especially biomass or such area.
Okay,
so
Masada-san. Now, please short comment on, do you think the collaboration amongst big corporations is possible or not?
I think that is possible. So we are now investigating what is a nice area to collaborate with ITB and promote in Indonesia.
No, amongst big corporations, for instance, between Mitsubishi and say with Korean company or with European company, is it possible to make collaboration in order to make innovation, significant innovation in supporting energy transition?
That could be a tough question because as you know, Japanese society is kind of solid and sometimes hesitate to collaborate. But as I pointed out, concerning the climate issue, recently Japanese government and company also try to collaborate with the foreign countries such as United States.
Oke ya. Sekarang saya tanya ke Pak Is terkait juga gimana menurut Pak Is. Ini Mitsubishi ternyata sama ITB ya, tapi apa di ke depan juga mungkin dengan BRIN atau BRIN berkolaborasi dengan mana lagi gitu? Bagaimana kemungkinannya kira-kira?
Mohon maaf. Ya, of course we Pak selalu ingin dan selalu mendorong kolaborasi. BRIN also welcome Mitsubishi to collaborate with us by all means, and we more than happy to collaborate with Mitsubishi. We have several laboratories that working on energy efficiency and carbon dioxide sequestration and others research topics that you mentioned in your presentations. But ITB is part of our research and innovation ecosystem of Indonesia. So that's collaborate with ITB is collaborate with Indonesia. So it's just the same. But if you need some more human resources and other equipment or infrastructure that need to be collaborate with our research institute, then more than happy, Pak. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You, Wai-Shin, Mr. Wai-Shin, Wai-Shin Chan, do you have comments?
I think it's very important.
That's very short.
Yes, very, very important to collaborate. I mean, technology transfer is one of those big issues that are being discussed at the global climate negotiations. We've got the intersessional subsidiary bodies happening at the moment, but clearly COP26 in November will be about, financing, capacity building, and technology transfer. A lot of developing economies cannot do this on their own, nor perhaps is it the most efficient use of resources to do this on their own. But collaboration, as has been discussed so far, I think is very, very important. And how can we incentivize that collaboration? Is another way of forcing corporates to work together in the development of not just net zero technologies, but net zero strategies as well. As we said before, the transportation sector cannot really electrify without the appropriate cleaner energy or decarbonization of the power sector. So it is very, very important to work together, not just at a national level, but also wonderfully on this call at an international level as well.
Thank you, Wai-Shin Chan, Mr. Wai-Shin Chan. We almost spend toward the end of the times. Then now I invite organizer to display to show the video tapping of keynotes. Our keynotes will be delivered by Bapak Laksana Tri Handoko, Kepala BRIN, Badan Riset Inovasi Nasional, dan karena beliau ada kesibukan, dilakukan dengan video tapping, dan sekarang akan kita presentasikan keynote tersebut. Mari kita ikuti bersama. So, organizer, please show the video tapping.
Selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. The Honorable Bapak Sujono Respati, the Chairman of the Organizing Committee and also the Chairman of the Maskeei, the Moderator, Bapak Herman B. Ibrahim, and also the distinguished speaker, Professor Park Sin from the Tung Kyun Kwan University, Professor Ismunandar from ITB, Paul Westin from Swedish Energy Academy, and also Mr. Junichiro Masada, the Executive Vice President of CTO Mitsubishi Power, and also Mr. Wai-Shin, the Managing Director of the Climate Change Center of Excellency. Distinguished guests and also participants, thank you very much. I would like to deliver, as requested by the organizer, the Enhancing Indonesia Research and Innovation System in this great occasion. First of all, it is a great honor for me to be here as one of the keynote speakers in this great event.
Oh yeah.
Secondly, taking this opportunity, please allow me to introduce the newly established Governmental Research Institution Indonesia. We call it as BRIN, Badan Riset dan Inovasi Nasional, the National Research and Innovation Agency that has been established on April 28 this year with me as the first chairman. So we have been appointed to conduct 3 directions and following 7 targets by the President of the Republic Indonesia. So the first direction is consolidating research and innovation resources, either the human resources, the infrastructure, and also the budget. This is quite important for us in Indonesia because this is the most important and fundamental problem in research and innovation community in Indonesia, because we have in total very, very large amount of human resources, very relatively large amount of infrastructure, and also the budget in total. In particular, the budget coming from the state, but all of them are separated over too many governmental research institutions across Indonesia. So this is what I call as the critical mass problem. Yeah, so everyone feels that they are lacking of required resources for conducting any research and innovation. The second direction is creating an open and collaborative research ecosystem with the global standard. So, and what I mean with the open is we would like to provide an open platform for everyone across this country, either the academicians, the industry, and also the government. The third direction is creating the foundation for the strong and sustained research-based economy for Indonesia in long term. In particular, we have been asked to focus more on three sectors of economy, that is the digital economy, green economy, and the blue economy. And following those three directions, we have 7 targets to conduct starting from this year. Of course, the first one is consolidation of all of the governmental research institutions that should be started hopefully on January 1st next year. And secondly, also the transformation of the business process and also the research management at the same time, to increase the critical mass of research and innovation resources, as I already mentioned before, either the human resources, the infrastructure, and also the budget resources. Because if we are only consolidating all of the resources without changing the business process and also the research management, it is quite hard to reach and to overcome the critical mass problem, as I already mentioned in earlier. And thirdly, we are also going to refocus our research program, more on how to increase the value added, increase the value added of our natural resources and also our local diversities, either the biodiversities, art diversities, and also art and culture diversities, and also the geodiversities. Because Indonesia is a rich country on diversities, not only the biodiversities, but also the geodiversities and also the cultural diversity. And the fourth one, we are also asked to making Indonesia as a global platform for global platform for any research activities, in particular research activities based on the natural resources and also the diversity. For instance, we are now constructing a quite big facility in Cibinong area and make it as a global platform for biodiversity research. That would be open for everyone across the globe. So, taking this opportunity, I would like also invite all researchers, all industries across the globe to join us, to work together and to collaborate with us and conducting excellent research in Indonesia. And the third one, we have been also asked to facilitating and being the enabler for our national industries and also business players to conduct our R&D based product development. This is very important because we have too many governmental research institutions at one side, and at another side, we have a very, very small number of R&D industries in our private sector. So we would like to turn the ratio between the governmental and also private sector's contribution the governmental contributions, the dominated governmental contributions to be the private sector-led contribution in research and innovation sector. And next, we are also going to provide a platform for talented human resources and any research fields. Yeah? And also, at the same time, we would like to nurture research and innovation-based entrepreneurs across this country in Indonesia. Yeah, this is quite important because one of the main components, the most important component in conducting research and innovations is having high qualified human resources. Yeah. And also, taking this opportunity, I would like to invite all of the diaspora, Indonesian diaspora across the globe to come home and to join us in conducting good research in Indonesia in the near future. And lastly, we are also going to increase direct economical impact from any research activities. So not only the output of the research activities, but also the direct economical impact from any research activities, and turning the research and innovation sector into a long-term investment destination. Yeah? This is quite new in this country, but globally it is very, very well known that research and innovation sector is one of the interesting investment destination. Yeah, in particular, in the country like Indonesia, with very, very huge biodiversity and also geodiversity, I do believe that we could attract more investment on the sector. So next, as everyone knows very well, that research and innovation is very important in any countries. Yeah? In particular, if we want to develop ourselves, we have to put a lot of effort on how to encourage and how to improve the research activities, not only quantitatively but also qualitatively. And in order to encourage such initiative, actually Indonesian government have introduced several incentives, either for the inventors or the researchers itself. For instance, we have been improving the intellectual property protection system in Indonesia, and also we have introduced what we call as the new license and royalty mechanism, which enables all governmental research institutions to directly provide the royalty into the inventors. So I think this would encourage all of our researchers and inventors to conduct much better research in the near future. On the other hand, we have also introduced several incentives for the industrial partners. For example, we have introduced what we call as the super tax deduction, up to 300%. And also we have introduced the usage of the local content, what we call as the TKDN, through the presidential instructions. So all of incentives and also initiatives are intended to overcome what we call as the middle income trap in the future. Because everyone knows that this is one of the phenomena we want to avoid, what we call as the middle income trap, that is impossible to overcome without encouraging the research and innovation activities in many sectors in Indonesia. And if we are talking about BRIN, the National Research and Innovation Agency, BRIN is one of the major, or I can say the single governmental player in research and innovation in Indonesia from now. Because we are going to consolidate, we are going to integrate all of the governmental research institutions across this country. Hopefully soon, maybe within this month, this next coming months. And what we can do to support and to encourage such initiative, as I already mentioned earlier. So we bring an initiative to open all of our infrastructures, including the human resources, infrastructure resources, and also the networks and budget, as an open platform that would be open for everyone in this country, either the local partners and also the global partners, as long as you are willing to work together in this country. So, simply speaking, we would like to turn BRIN as a collaboration hub and enabler for multi-global and local parties, either from private sectors and also from the academicians. And then at the same time, we would like to obtain side effect from our research and innovation activities in the form of what we call as the creative economy. That we are very happy to be able to facilitate our partners, encouraging also the innovation-based entrepreneurship through daily involvement in either pure scientific or industrial-oriented research activities conducted within BRIN. So, considering our topic today about the energy, so this is quite a challenging problem in this country. I think not only in this country, but also in many countries around the globe. So in particular in Indonesia, we have a very ambitious target to reach 23% of energy mix by 2025. This is not an easy task, and actually the target is not far away from this year, and it is almost someone says that it is almost impossible without considering the usage of nuclear power plant, for instance. But we should work hard, in particular from the side of research and innovation. On the other hand, we have also faced many global issues related to the energy consumption and also the energy production. First of all is the global warming and also air pollution. In particular, in Indonesia, we are still highly dependent on the fossil fuel. On the other hand, we have been also suffered from the high amount of the subsidy for our domestic fuel consumption. And of course, we have to also consider what we call the Indonesian energy security and long term. So all of these challenging issues should be overcome through active and productive and also good research and innovations activities conducted not only by BRIN but also together with the industrial partners, either from local and also global. So I'm not going to talk in detail about what we have done so far in terms of research and innovations in energy sector, yeah? Because it is just too much. Yeah? But shortly speaking, I can say that we have been focusing on three aspects of how we can encourage, how we can support the renewable energy development and utilization through research and activities. Yeah. The first one is the red colored one is how we can increase the accessibility of electricity in the remote and small islands, yeah, the off-grid areas and border areas, yeah, using micro hydro, for instance, and solar energies, or mix between micro solar and also biogas and so on. Yeah. This is quite challenging in this country because Indonesia is archipelago country, yeah, with many off-grid and remote areas. Yeah. So, and secondly, we are also supporting how we can increase the electricity supply using agricultural waste and municipal solid waste based bioenergy. Yeah. This is quite important, as I already mentioned earlier, because we face the problem of global warming and also air pollution and also the environmental problem in general. Yeah. And lastly, we are also focusing ourselves to increase utilization of biofuel, yeah? Either the solid, liquid, and also gas for oil fuel substitution. Yeah? This is also very challenging, but very promising research area, and some of our research teams have already obtained very promising results on this topics, yeah, and I do believe that Professor Ismunandar will elaborate more on this topic after my speech. So I think this is all what I can deliver in this occasion. I do expect that what we have delivered and discussed in this event would contribute significantly to our nation and our people in the future. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, we have listened to a keynote speaker from Bapak Laksana Trihandoko, Kepala BRIN, but we now has already exceeded the time for 10 minutes. So I think we cannot continue because it will disturb other program, and also I will go to the airport. So for the speakers, mungkin ada komentar dari ini Maskeei. Jadi saya nggak menampung pertanyaan dari peserta karena waktunya tadi mulainya telat setengah jam, dan ini waktunya sesuai jadwal yang harus berakhir 13.30 sudah lewat, dan saya harus melakukan kegiatan untuk menuju airport. Kalau tidak ada komentar, I invite speakers to make a closing statement. Short closing statement for by each speaker, please. Start from Paul.
Thank you, Herman, for this very interesting session. It has been a pleasure. Sorry for being a little bit frank, as I mentioned, on what I think should be the direction forward for Indonesia, but I do believe we have the possibilities of going in the correct direction. Including energy efficiency. This is the theme of the conference, and I just want to say that energy efficiency is often overlooked as a tool, and not using energy efficiently is a waste of resources and money. So you can earn a lot by just focusing a little bit on the better use of energy instead of trying to push forward for more supply. So that's one main message, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Which city are you from now in Stockholm? Paul? Okay.
Saya masih di Stockholm. Yeah. Please come back and visit.
Pagi-pagi in the morning. Okay. Masada-san, your closing statement, please.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed today's seminar, and I learned lots about the R&D activity and situation in Indonesia. So I will work with ITB continuously, and if I can contribute to the renewable or carbon dioxide of Indonesia, that's my favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Arigato.
Arigato.
Masada-san. Wai-Shin first, before Pak Ismunandar. Your closing statement, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. I think my final statement message would be to think about sustainability in a holistic way. It's not just about low carbon. It was wonderful to hear the keynote just now talk about biodiversity and all those other things, because there are so many co-benefits that can come about from looking at sustainability holistically. And then one final point that is very, very important to Indonesia is although there's a big focus on low carbon energy and mitigation of climate change, don't forget the adaptation side. I think that's very, very important, and there'll be a lot of co-benefits from looking at adaptation as well as mitigation. So holistic sustainability. Thank you.
I share it, Wai-Shin-san. Wai-Shin-san, sustainability holistically, ya. Sustainability holistically. Sekarang Pak Is, closing statement. Pak Ismunandar.
Thank you, Pak Herman. Terima kasih. Well, I also enjoy the session and learn a lot from other speakers and from the keynote also. Dan saya kira pandemi ini mendorong ya tidak hanya digital ekonomi tetapi juga green ke arah kita lebih environmentally friendly, itu sangat penting, dan saya kira tema dari apa yang kita diskusikan sangat relevan dan sangat penting untuk ke depan ini. Mudah-mudahan kita juga di BRIN bisa berkontribusi pada ini semua, dan senang bisa berkolaborasi dengan berbagai pihak yang seperti disampaikan Pak Kepala BRIN tadi. Ke depan BRIN akan menjadi platform yang open bagi semua. Terima kasih, Pak.
Ya, pandemi mendorong, tapi kita sama-sama ingin pandemi cepat berakhir ya. Mendorong berbagai inovasi, tetapi ya harus cepat berakhir ya. Baik, distinguished speakers, honorary speakers, distinguished participants, we already come to the end of this session. I thank you very much for your participation, especially to speakers. Also thanks to keynote speakers. Please convey my regards to Pak Laksono, Pak Ismunandar, tidak bertemu tadi, dan maybe I can meet him in the event with Dewan Energi Nasional. Also, I enjoyed your presentation and discussion. Time limit us to discuss. So, again, thank you, and hopefully, please continue to contribute to sustainability holistically. Sustainability holistically, yeah. Not only in your country, holistically mean everywhere. In your country, in your society, but worldwide, yeah, to save the planet, yeah. Thank you. See you again in the other event, yeah. Terima kasih. Saya Herman Daniel Ibrahim, mohon izin untuk mengakhiri ini. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih kepada semua peserta.